Call the monthly Board of Education meeting to order. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh. I have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Keenan makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, sir.
Mrs. Dye gets a second. All in favor, show of hands. 6-0 now. Motion carries. Citizen statements. Dr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had no request to speak in open session as per policy BDDH. We did have one request for closed session who did not attend.
Okay. Written?
We had no written communication to distribute this month, sir.
Okay. District announcements?
Yes, no military liaison. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to the class of 2020. It's hard to believe that it's that time already. On Friday, our seniors had their last day. So congratulations, seniors, and best wishes. We're hoping to be able to see you real soon here for a graduation ceremony. I want to thank our teachers, parents, staff, and community who have made virtual learning work. More than 80% of our students elected to accept a traditional letter grade, and fewer than 20% opted for pass-fail. So great job, students, and staying on task during this certainly this large time of disruption in our district and across our country. We have announced detailed information for how parents can turn in school-owned items and how they can pick up their child's personal items. The link for the year-end procedures to return and pick up items is on the district's main website. Providing social distancing restrictions due to COVID-19 have been lifted by mid-June, and we feel it's safe to do so. Graduation for the Waynesville High School class of 2020 will be held at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, June the 19th at Waynesville High School Tiger Stadium. Honors Night for seniors is scheduled for 7 p.m. on June 16th in the Waynesville High School Auditorium. In the event that social distancing restrictions have not been lifted by mid-June, Honors Night will be held on Thursday, July 16th, and graduation will be Saturday, July the 18th. If our trend of serving between 11,000 and 12,000 meals each week continues, we will reach a significant benchmark at the end of this month with 500,000 meals having been served in our school district since COVID-19 hit. We want to really thank OPA for this. We want to thank our transportation, our kitchen staff for working on this project with us. Just want to note as well that we'll continue the free meals through June 30th. Virtual summer school will be offered June 1st through 26th for students entering 1st through 12th grades. We also plan to offer 2 weeks of seated summer school for students entering kindergarten through 12th grades on July 20th through 31st. Providing COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted. And as of right now, our first day of school for the 2020-21 school year is August 24th. That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you. Again, congratulations to the class of 2020. I'm pretty proud of you. You guys have done something that nobody in this room has had to go through. So congratulations to that. And to our cooks, transportation staff, and everybody that's making these meals come out, bravo. It's unbelievable. I know we all get lots of calls on how great that is. And when I was working every other day from home, and there's a bus stop in my neighborhood up the street just a little bit, and all the people going and listening to them talk amongst themselves, how neat that was without them even knowing who I was listening, it was phenomenal. So congratulations. We'll move into a consent agenda item. Bid recommendations, Dr. Berger.
I'll entertain any questions, some paper, some service contracts.
Any comments or questions? Financials?
Financials for May 10th, 2020. In the MOSIP account, $48,037,341. CDs with the Bank of Crocker, $10.5 million. In our general account, $977,052. Payroll account, $100,426. Total funds, $59,614,820.
Thank you, Dr. Berger. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through J?
I had a question on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Piney Ridge agreement on that thing. I saw the changes, they were in red. But very end of it, when you got to the signature page, 14.1.3, it says notation in minutes. It says the board and governing board shall each approve, and it's in red and it's got a line through the board.
Just the governing board it was redundant, and so the governing board is the Board of Education.
Okay,
That is the District Board of Education.
I thought, well, reading through the contract, though, it sounded like when they were talking about governing board, they were talking about Piney Ridge.
The interpretation was that it was redundant and that's why it was stricken. I can run that down. Certainly there wouldn't be, it'll come to the board annually just as it has.
It probably doesn't make any difference, but, you know, in the contract, if you reference Piney Ridge and their governing board making an agreement and being the signatory on the thing, and then you talk about us as the Board of Education, both of those need to be on there before that signature. Even though if you have both signatures on there, it's a moot point. I was curious.
Well, no, it's a good point, Mr. Keelan. I tell you what we'll do. I know with a high level of confidence, Mr. Hickman, Art is not going to have an issue with that. So we'll run it down with legal tomorrow and maybe have it back in before signature if they recommend it.
Okay. All right.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Do I have a motion on A through J?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Keelan makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Dr. Farmer makes a second. All in favor, show of hands. 7-0, motion carries. Spotlight on education, Mrs. Bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight we have the CTA Spotlight on Education brought to us by a video submitted by Mr. Lambert.
Classified employee, Miss Jamie Starnes. Jamie works in the athletic office, but does so much more than just work on
Classified employee, Miss Jamie Starnes. Jamie works in the athletic office, but does so much more than just work on schedule. As athletic director Courier stated, Jamie is vital to the athletic department and goes above and beyond to help across the whole building. She is always willing to fill any role and always has a positive attitude that is contagious. Her work ethic, desire to complete tasks with fidelity, and glowing personality are extremely valuable to the success of WHS. Jamie helps at multiple events, keeps track of all the gate and contest monies, helps Coach Pill with tracking student attendance for A+, helps our track athletes by tracking grades, fills in for any secretaries that are gone, covers in the lunchroom taking money when anyone is gone, and works on special projects, anything from Teacher Appreciation Week, Homecoming Week, court warming, etc., etc. The list is extremely long, and does all of that with a great attitude and smile. As longtime athletic office secretary Nancy Crawford quoted, Jamie is always willing to help anyone in any way and always has a smile on her face. She loves helping our kids out. Jamie was chosen by her staff for the honor because of her hard work, willingness to help anyone with anything, and her fantastic attitude. Ms. Our certified employee is Mr. Nick Lambert. Nick works currently as the instructional tech at the high school. Nick, during a typical year, does training at the beginning of the year. On Tech Tuesdays, he highlights an instructional program or ways to utilize our technology to enhance classrooms, but this has hardly been a typical year. Nick started the year with helping to develop training, organize distribution, and then overseeing the one-to-one initiative at the high school with the implementation of approximately 1,500 Chromebooks to the students. Nick was an integral part of this rollout going so smoothly and was the leader in helping to train both the staff and the students in using Canvas, Mastery Connect, and many other applications as teachers wanted to use them in their classrooms. Just when Nick thought things would slow down as teachers were getting used to using the Chromebooks as a teaching tool, the pandemic hit, and we sent 1,500 students with with 100 teachers home with their Chromebooks to do virtual lessons. As social studies teacher and steering team leader quoted, during the school year, Nick Lambert has been a key component of the high school transitioning into the 21st century. Now that we have entered into the virtual learning aspect of education, the aforementioned issues made the transition into the virtual learning world almost seamless for the high school. His energy, effort, knowledge, and motivation to provide the best technology possible has been a key role in the high school maintaining a high level of educational success, even though students were not seated in classrooms. Nick was chosen by the staff for this honor because of their appreciation for all the times he was there for them to answer questions and to lend a helping hand with anything they had in technology. The next spotlight is on our PLC team, the CBI team. The CBI team consists of Stephanie Peace, Philip Gamble, and Justine Swan, as well as their paras. Not only are they teaching the required standards, but they are also teaching day-to-day social skills, life skills, and functional skills to students who struggle to learn those skills and who will need continual instruction and reminders throughout their lifetime, and who often have significant behaviors. The instruction for these kids doesn't end in their senior year. These teachers have the same students all day for all subjects and use various forms of assessment, including the MAP-A exam. They instead have to measure progress and create goals on skills that are very hard to measure in classroom settings, let alone in the virtual environment. Yet they have had a near seamless transition into virtual learning. When in the building, all three classrooms of teachers and paras work together with shared students in a multitude of environments that range from the classroom, the gym, Tiger Joe, to businesses in our community, where they learn and perform job-related tasks at places like Drachenfutter, Price Cutter, Loving Paul's, the Chamber of Commerce, and the local hotels. The logistics of this are enormous, especially with the population of students in these classes. These students utilize the MAP-A exam, and as seen on slide 4 with their pre- and post-test data, they have shown significant growth with these students during the school, moving from 2 students in advanced to 5 students in advanced in the post data, and going from 5 basic to and below to just 2 in the post data. What are some of the factors that enabled them to get these results? Well, this group spent their first few days of virtual learning personally delivering task boxes, food, Chromebooks, and everything else they needed to get their students so they could fully participate in the virtual learning environment. When students were failing to show up for Hangouts, this team personally reached out to parents, students, and did whatever they could to help them participate. They definitely went way above and beyond, and what a fantastic job the CBI team did. Thank you.
Good evening, Mike Freeman, representing the Seller Section Auto Group, and I want to say again what an honor it is for us to recognize our teachers that are just doing an outstanding job in our community, making a difference in students' lives. Tonight we're going to be recognizing 2 teachers, one for the 3rd quarter and one for the 4th quarter of the Waynesville School District. First of all, our 3rd quarter winner is Miss Denise Holzer. Miss Denise teaches school at the Freedom Elementary, and she has a project called Making Music Tangible. Ms. Denise is going to use music in the 2nd and 3rd grade, where music is only heard but not seen, but not anymore. She is creating a project where students can experience music in a different way. New Manipulative lets students touch, hold, measure, and compare, write, and create music. Note blocks are in the shape of notes, rests, and other musical symbols. And the longer the note, the thicker the shape. So 4 quarters stack up the same as one whole, an entirely new dimension for music. These manipulatives to visualize different pitches in music are a set of tubes called boom whackers. The lower the note, the longer the tube. These plastic tubes can be played with mallets or held in a student's hand and whacked against each other to produce a tone. Each tone pitch is color-coded so students can read music with ease and relate to higher pitches to notes higher on the musical staff. So the plan is to create special music learning centers for second and third grade students so they can explore, compose, and internalize music in these new ways. Now, I'm an individual who loves music, those who know me. I love to sing, and I love music. And to hear how they're thinking out of the box to help students learn more about music and how to visualize or see music and not only hear it is exciting. Congratulations, Miss Denise, for you are the third quarter project teacher of the quarter for the Waynesville School District. We have a plaque for you as well as a $100 stipend to help you with your learning center. Our fourth quarter teacher comes from Piney Ridge School, and I love this project. Miss Amber York Barber. She is our fourth quarter teacher of the quarter. Miss Amber says the Piney Ridge School Store is a store in the middle school classroom that will be utilized by all grade levels. Now, the store will offer a variety of items for students to purchase with Piney Bucks. Due to the circumstances of these students, money for them to spend is not an option. Instead, they earn money from individual teachers based on school performance, attendance, acts of kindness, and overall behavior. This offers an incentive for the students to purchase items like socks, coloring books, small stacks, drinks, etc. Does it offer an incentive for primary students to have things have who run the store and manage it. These teachers realize it's vital for students' success, and they would be in charge of stock pricing and service. This program was piloted during the summer school in June and was a huge success. The store was stocked by staff donations and ran by the middle school students. So you see, this project is not only about education, it's about meeting sometimes the basic necessities of life. So Seller Sexton, in addition to recognizing Miss Amber with her plaque and the normal stipend of $100, we're going to make our stipend for $400 to help them stock this classroom, this store, to help other students. I encourage you, if you're listening tonight via Facebook or however it may be being broadcast this evening, the challenge is out there. If you'd like to help make a difference in students' lives, do as these teachers are doing. Give to the district. Make your check and donation made where it goes specifically to help the school store at Piney Ridge Center. Thank you, Miss Amber. Thank you, Miss Denise, and congratulations for our third and fourth quarter teachers of the quarter. Thank you.
Applause for them. Couldn't be here tonight. Also, again, Mike, you're not here, but we can't thank you enough for what you and Seller Sexton does for our district with this, especially. You guys don't have to do what you do, but even tonight you go above and beyond what you have to do. So we appreciate you a whole lot. So thank you, Mike and Seller Sexton. We'll move now to Teacher of the Year, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight it is my honor to recognize Mrs. Dara Fabian. Mrs. Fabian was selected as our District Teacher of the Year this spring. We had the opportunity to visit her classroom on March 6th to make the surprise announcement. Her students were very excited to join in the celebration with us. And then we left and she got to settle them back down. Mrs. Fabian has taught at Thayer Elementary since 2003, where she currently teaches second grade. Mrs. Fabian serves as a member of her building steering team and has served on several district curriculum committees. She served as a pilot teacher as part of our reading series adoption this school year. She also serves as a district teacher leader, and as part of that team, she helps with district level professional development and also assists with professional learning activities within her own building. Oops. In the classroom, Mrs. Fabian builds strong relationships with her students. She also incorporates movement and active learning activities to keep her students engaged. The District Professional Development Committee facilitates the Teacher of the Year selection process each spring. Mrs. Fabian will represent Waynesville in the Regional Teacher of the Year process through the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Congratulations to Mrs. Fabian, and we do have a plaque which we will be delivering to her once she's back in the building. Thank you.
Congratulations to her as well. All kinds of good stuff going on tonight. Transportation Employee of the Month, Mrs. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's again my honor to recognize May Transportation Employee of the Month, Stephanie Houston. Stephanie has been with the district for 13 years in the transportation department. She runs an early childhood route, and during the transition to food distribution, Stephanie asked if we could get a smaller bus to reach more students in a neighborhood, and Mr. Wilking was able to accommodate that request, and we were able to serve many, many more families in that neighborhood due to her observation and bringing that to his attention. So Stephanie is retiring at the end of this year, but we appreciate her contribution and her care for students over the years, and she will be greatly missed. Thank you.
Congratulations, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move into discussion item. Waynesville Middle School construction update, Dr. Berger.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's been a while, but thanks for making the trip down the interstate. Don?
It has been a while. I know I think I missed the last meeting or two, and I know some of you got stuck with hearing from my partner, so I apologize for that, but we always have a little bantering back and forth. We were on site, on the 13th, so these photos, I think, are identified as being from May 18th, but we were on site on the 13th. We actually had a design meeting on a couple of projects that are in progress, and then about 10:30 in the morning, we moved into the typical construction observation meeting with the contractor. The building is really, really coming together, certainly since the last time I've been down here. I believe it was stated that all of the steel is set, or if it wasn't set close to the end of last week, it's in the process of being set now. So that's really a pretty substantial feat for the building. Once the steel gets set and most of the masonry is in place, things really begin to pick up steam. So I think you'll see that through a number of the photographs. This is just one of the two interior stairs that will be in the atrium. That stair will be poured. It's still in its metal form yet and still has handrails and things like that. So that space will really come together, and it will be kind of a highlight of the entry element, transitioning from the main level down to the lower level, going into the music department. This is a little bit difficult to understand, but we're standing in the main lobby of the on the main floor of the middle school, and those openings that you see between the steel beams will ultimately be filled in with windows, and it will allow natural light to come deep into the building. I think it will really open up. There'll be a nice volume in there. There's some very nice ornamental lights that will be placed in there. Obviously very hard to tell at this point, but that's what we're looking at. It was kind of a cloudy, rainy day, so the images are a little dark, but this is standing on the portico looking west toward the new entry into the gymnasium. Now that steel is up, I think you get a sense of the magnitude of what that secondary entry going into the physical education buildings will be like. It will be really quite quite nice. And the plaza that you've all been so working hard on and working with us from the standpoint of design elements will sit right about where that orange piece of equipment is. A lot of times it's kind of interesting to see how the building goes together. We're actually standing on what's called metal decking that will have the concrete poured on it very shortly, and then ultimately that will become the floor. And again, we're kind of standing back in the main entry area looking out. Masonry is progressing and has been for now several weeks, probably into the months. This is the standing in the connector link going into the new addition, and we're looking down into the courtyard. The courtyard is now finally enclosed, and you get a really sense for what a grand student space that will be for an outdoor learning center. We're looking at the front of the building, and it's, it was really deceiving for a long time. I was telling Brian Nash the other day, for a long time that piece of, let me see if I can point to it here, that piece of masonry was in place for quite some time, and it seems so tall and so out of place. But now that the building is essentially, the walls are up and the backfill is in there, it's all beginning to take shape, and that will be the front facade of the main entry. Here, we're actually standing adjacent to, this is the old original gym right here, and we're looking west. This is not a polished floor or anything. It had been raining, and it's really collected a lot of moisture. But we're getting a sense of what that space will look like. The painted ceiling of the smaller gymnasium, that was just painted that day. And that entire ceiling will not be painted because it was in really good condition, but where structure had to be modified and such, it will be painted, and that's a newly painted portion. We're seeing the eastern end and the areas behind those yellow walls, and we'll get another look into that in a minute. That's all of the new electrical system. It's all completely hidden in place. And then the area that's defined by that yellow upside down L is, that's the music rooms, and that will also serve, as you remember, as the storm shelter for the entire building. Both music rooms will do that. Getting a look again at that tall entry that now flanks or sits in front of the gymnasium. And I believe this might be the last image, and that's the new electrical switchgear that I was telling you is behind those yellow finished walls. That is it. Could I answer any questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
SOS report, Mrs. Bells.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to talk to the board tonight about the Support Our Students program, or otherwise known as SOS. The school district started SOS after the Missouri State Legislature voted to withdraw career ladder funding in 2010-2011. The goals of the program are to support student academics and behavioral improvement and compensate teachers beyond the school day for work that supports student success. All teachers in the Waynesville School District are currently eligible to participate in SOS. Teachers are compensated for up to 50 hours at a rate of $35 per hour, and the SOS handbook outlines the specific requirements for the program, and that's attached to your board docs for you this evening. The district budgets annually approximately $400,000 for the program, and to the right just lists the expenditures the district paid out over the last 3 years. There were some changes that we made to SOS this year. One of them I've already mentioned before. Teachers had to teach 3 years within the state of Missouri to become eligible. Now all teachers are eligible. We also made an adjustment to where teachers could receive partial payment in December if they had worked 20 hours or more. And we also allowed teachers to be paid for straight hours worked instead of increments of $25 and $50. Currently, we have 302 teachers participating this school year across the district, and in December, we paid 105 teachers either a full or partial payment, depending upon hours completed above 20. And I'd just like to thank the board for your continued support of SOS. Because of SOS, as of May 1st, the district had served students by contacting them for 12,704 hours and 38 minutes. And it's even greater than a number than displayed this evening, because teachers have continued to work with students above their contracted time through the end of the school year. And we're certainly proud of them and appreciate the work that they do. Thank you.
Comments or questions? Thank you, Mrs. Bills. Update on the Perpetual and budgeting calendar, first reading, Dr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. For first read, this has been in study session before. We were in need of updating our Perpetual calendar. In addition, we talked in study session the need to look at our infrastructure, capital improvements, construction schedules, and budgeting. And kind of getting that timeline fleshed out throughout the course of a school year. So this document includes that infrastructure budgeting piece, the comprehensive program review, and the regular business. So it's that we don't have as many years on the rotation in comprehensive program review. We thought that might be good, keeping it at 3. That way we can update this a little bit more as new things come about to make sure that we have that on the perpetual rotation. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, but that is the updated perpetual board calendar.
Comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Henry. Threat assessment model, Mrs. Bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attached is a threat assessment protocol as discussed in study session, and we're bringing it to you tonight as a first reading.
Comments or questions? Okay, proposed job descriptions, Mrs. Bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. Below are presented to the Board of Education as a first reading. 2.4.1, Executive Director, Operational Services, change from Assistant Superintendent of Operational Services. 2.16.2, Director of Student Services. 2.28.1, Director of Special Services. 2.47.1, Chief Financial Officer / Director of Information Systems. Again, a change from Director of Information Systems. 3.0.9, Coordinator of Grant Management, combination of DODEA Project Edge Director and Director of Community Resources and Grants Management. Just a reminder to the public, this was part of the restructure that we voted to approve last month, and so we had to update those job descriptions because of that restructure. And administration will request approval of these job descriptions at the June board meeting.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Bills. AMI, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our plan for alternate methods of instruction. We hear AMI a lot, and I hear people ask what that is. That is alternate methods of instruction. I do want to point out that prior to the current COVID-19 related closure, our state legislature had already approved language that would allow for districts to use AMI when they're on inclement weather days, so that they did not have to make up those days. The students would just go into this alternate method of instruction, complete the work, and then they would be able to count that day for attendance purposes. We were already planning on filling out the application for that purpose, and then we've went into our current reality, and so it made it even more vitally important. This year, when we've been in our distance learning, the state was not ready for that as far as calculating attendance and those sorts of things. The plan that we had to submit did have requirements with it around what types of instruction should occur, how we were going to deliver that instruction, and also how we were going to collect attendance. So as part of the plan that we submitted to the state and is outlined in the attachment to this item, teachers will take attendance daily if on those days that we go into AMI. If a student is not in attendance virtually, or if they're not completing the work that goes along with it, they will be marked absent for the day, which would be reflected in their attendance percentages. So it will be important for us to work with our families to let them know that we will be collecting attendance and how that will look, and that is an expectation, not just from us as a district, but also that it's a statewide expectation with the AMI plan. For students who are unable to log in virtually, we do have alternate methods built in for them to be able to participate and be counted. Are there any questions?
Ms. Akin, they have a certain time to log in, and if not, then they're counted absent, or?
We will run a regular schedule. We'll have an AMI schedule, so students will be expected to log on during those times and participate with the live instruction with their classes, and then they will have some time to finish their work, and work will be due within 2 days of the return from the AMI closure.
Thank you.
Can patrons see this copy online?
Yes.
They just have to go to board documents and?
Yes, if patrons were to go to board docs, they would be able to access this document.
So Dr. Atkins, if everything proceeds as normal and we are operating under a max calendar where we're not making up days, we will still, and from reading this, we will still have the AMI in use if we have 2 consecutive inclement weather days, is that correct?
Yes. And that is to ensure continued learning for students when we have multiple days that we're out.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Dr. Atkins. Proposed alternate 2020-2021 school calendars, Mrs. Bells.
Thank you, Mr. President. In a few moments, Dr. Henry will go over in greater detail the pandemic reopening guide, but as part of that plan, the district created 3 additional calendars in the event we had to move the start date of school back. The intent would be, and the hope would be, that we would deploy virtual learning on August 25th if we had to move our start day back. However, we want to be prepared for all scenarios, and so we have these 3 alternative calendars ready to go if needed. However, if we did have to utilize any of these other calendars, that would impact our max calendar options, snow makeup days, vacations, and of course the end of school. And so we hope not to have to do that, but want to be prepared for it all.
Comments or questions?
Good planning.
Thank you, Mrs. Bells. Professional development report, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight I'm going to give you an update on our professional development report, on our professional development program. In our CSIB, our goal related to professional development is to optimize student learning through effective school improvement initiatives, and our strategy is to identify and implement professional development and collaborative structures to facilitate and support student learning. We have had a number of action steps over the past few years. We've continued to provide training to support the writing process, training and support for PBLs, which is problem-based learning. The way that looks now, because most teachers have been trained in it, is that our instructional techs and library media specialists plan at the building levels with teacher teams on PBLs that will be implemented throughout the year. We provide professional development aligned to our district initiatives and curricular focus areas, and we also provide a professional development on student engagement. This was our calendar for this year, and when you look through our professional development offerings, they do align with our district initiatives. So we always want to make sure that we do that. And at our buildings, when they pick their professional development, they align it to their BSIP, which is their Building School Improvement Plan. One highlight, in October, we had more of a workshop day, so we offered a wide variety of professional development opportunities, and teachers could choose what they wanted to participate in that day. We had it here at the high school, and we've done that for the past number of years. As we move forward into next school year, collective efficacy will be a focus for us, and that is really that belief that the work we do leads to improved student outcomes. So it's really building that capacity in teachers and leaders to really then help build up student self-efficacy, where students believe the work that they do, it will lead to strong outcomes. Blended learning, it will be a focus pre-K to 12, how we integrate technology in the classroom for effective learning. So that is what blended learning is. And then with the adoption of our new reading series, balanced literacy will be a focus with that implementation. And we will continue to support the writing process, math instruction, and then utilizing peer coaching where teachers are able to go watch other teachers who are strong with a particular concept or skill and identify strategies that they can implement in their own classrooms. Our district professional development committee is composed of representatives from each building, and we meet at least quarterly. And the focus of those meetings are to review and provide input on professional development activities at the district level as well as at the building level. And they also help facilitate our new teacher program. At the building level, those PD committee members facilitate their PD committee at the building level, and they facilitate the professional development request within the building. And then they also facilitate the new teacher and mentor process within their building. And each August, we welcome in our new employees to Waynesville with our new teacher program. And really, we do try to tier it out. There are program items for teachers who are new to teaching as opposed to those that are new to Waynesville, because there are things that you need to learn how to do. How do you access our systems? What is our curriculum like? So all teachers need that, but there are some other things that veteran teachers don't necessarily need professional development in that we focus to our new teachers. Our first year teachers also get targeted professional development throughout the year that is really tailored to the needs of the new teachers, because if you throw it all on them in August, that is a lot. So we try to space it out throughout the year and bring it to them when they're going to need it. So ahead of conferences, we do professional development related to going into parent-teacher conferences. And they each have a mentor who is assigned to them, and that mentor is in their building. Our second-year teachers continue in the program, and they get targeted PD that builds upon the PD they had that first year, and they do continue working with their mentor. Missouri requires that all new teachers complete a new teacher program as part of their credentialing process, and our program far exceeds the requirements set forth by the state, so our teachers are able to use our program and they don't have to go take an outside program. We actually get calls sometimes from other districts asking if they can send their teachers over to ours, but it's really tailored so much to what we do in Waynesville that that's not something we've been able to open up. Are there any questions?
Comments or questions?
Not, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Atkins. Reopening document, Dr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess we'll just all open this up to first page, and I'll take the first page and read, and then Mr. Schultz will just go around the...
I'll ad-lib.
Okay. This document is modeled somewhat after the MSBA document that came out that many of you have seen, and we do appreciate the Missouri School Boards Association working with various groups across the state to provide some guidance, but obviously this is scaled back from that document. The MSBA document's approximately 100 pages and encompasses many things and has several different resources in it. Ours is more tailored to our school district and what we need to think about as far as reentry. I would say certainly it's going to be something that's encouraged throughout the state to have something like this on the books to be prepared for whatever may happen next. I know one of the frustrating things for parents, especially parents of seniors right now, and many others in our district, is that, you know, they want answers as to, well, when's this going to stop? What are we going to do? Unfortunately, that does not exist. You know, right now, as we tell everyone, May 31st, we know we're under social distancing and certain guidelines till that point in time. That'll be a gateway, and we'll see what happens after May 31st. If anything happens over the summer, anything happens, you know, going into the school year, we'll have to be prepared for many different scenarios, and that's what this document is designed to address. A couple things, and Mrs. Bales mentioned this earlier, as far as calendar start dates, one of the reasons why we have AMI listed and calendar start dates separately is because we do want to show that if you do not use AMI and you're forced to move back into, say, a September start date or a late September start date or an October start date, you can see in there what happens to your breaks and what happens to your summer break eventually when you start to lose all of those hours. And I do want to be very clear in stating that this document was not designed to say, hey, we're moving the start date. Those are just alternatives if we have another outbreak. You know, that's what this is all for. So this is a preparedness document. It's not something that's designed to say, hey, we're going to, you know, just decide tomorrow we'll go on September the 9th or September the 8th or what that might be. So those dates in there are purely in case we need to do things, and this is just purely for preparation. You know, another few things that I would throw in here, we need to have the ability to, as the state says, toggle in and out of AMI. Meaning that if you were forced to shut down for 30 days, being able to shift in and out, have a process for taking attendance, have a process for how we're going to manage grades during that time period, and this document addresses that. We need to have clear processes as far as cleaning and what the expectation is for cleaning. A recommendation is to have a scenario for reduced attendance, meaning that we would have fewer kids in school in alternate days. So all of that is included in this document for how we would respond in those situations. In reference to the AMI, if you all recall, I shared this with you in several board updates and as well as a study session, the fact that AMI, we were going to pilot this upcoming year with volunteer teachers. We were going to have them use those on snow days and see what kind of response we had. Well, piloting kind of was thrown out the window as of this year. So we do want to use this as a method that if you have an ice storm and you have to be out for 7 days, you know, after the first day, you're able to go in and continue instruction, because we do have a max calendar, which means that we're not going to be making physically those days up. You know, so this gives us an opportunity to continue some instruction for our students during those time periods. You know, hopefully after what we've been dealt with this spring, we have no bad weather next year, and we have no ice storms and no snowstorms. You know, knock on wood. That's a great thing to say right now. But you know, so most of these things in here are certainly all for preparedness, all for things that we need to do to comply with federal laws and state laws in regard to sanitization and posting of laws pertaining to the various rights our employees have in this situation. So while it's comprehensive, ours is scaled down to about 37, 38 pages versus the 98 in the state. It does give a good guideline as to what we would do, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have thus far. This is a first reading, not voting on anything right now, but a first reading on the reopening guidelines.
Comments or questions?
Happy to see that you've got a section included in on emotional wellness of students.
Yes.
Because we have, just from this short time we've been out right now, we have some kids that are having difficulty making things come together.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, we have individuals working on even reentry. If we started with a normal reentry August 24th and things look good, to do more social emotional support activities to start after everything that folks have been through. knowing that we have kids from all around the world here, and the likelihood that someone in the family has been affected is very high in our school district, and making sure we do things to support behaviorally and emotionally what students have gone through when we come back on August 24th, if we get to start just, just like we want to. Yeah, trauma training for staff, which many of them have had already, but continuing that into the upcoming year as well.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Dr. Henry. Salary, removing the action item, salary recommendation, Dr. Henry.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm pleased to bring, if my computer works here, if not, we can go ahead and pop it up on the screen. Thanks, Jeremy. Salary proposal for this year, as we mentioned during study session, we're in some uncharted territory as far as finances go in the state of Missouri over the course of the next couple years in response to everything that's happened. So in the first slide here, I detail, even though we know that we're going to have some hurdles to face in the coming months, we do feel like that we've had wise stewardship through the board in terms of maintaining balances and doing the things that we need to do to be able to provide raises for our teachers in the upcoming year. And we shared with you the fact that we have CARES Act funding and some other funds that will offset some of the costs that we had built into our budget, so that will enable us the ability to offer a raise for this year and movement on the salary schedule. I will say that in the upcoming year, we will have to be very careful. I think there's no question that revenues across the state and across the nation will be down, and it's something that we're going to have to watch very carefully. But going into this year, we feel like with the supports that we're given, through CARES and other funding, we are very confident in recommending 1% being added to the current base salary and movement. And as you all know, that can be anywhere from usually a 2.5% to sometimes over 3% raise, depending on where you're at on the salary schedule, and 1% added to classified wages for this school year. For this coming school year, excuse me. SOS, appreciated the board's comments after our last meeting. We worked on this and shared it in special session, but essentially we're asking for an additional $1 an hour onto SOS, and remember that was increased last year by $5 an hour, so it continues the trend of trying to emphasize that. The board was certainly very passionate about making sure that money goes towards helping students, and we also wanted to try to help teachers in the process of preparing rooms and doing a lot of the things we had to do outside of that. So we came up with the concept of a classroom preparation stipend, which we're sharing as part of this year's salary package, where teachers will be paid a stipend of $150 upon the completion of the required personnel videos for many different areas. The 4 hours of classroom work outside of, or just preparing your room outside of regularly scheduled hours, 2 hours of watching personnel videos, and then as soon as you watch your personnel videos, we will know that through the system. Everybody logs in, does their certifications and things, and then you get your $150 for working on those 2 areas. Next one here, also an area we wanted to make sure we stayed on top of, our head custodians and kitchen managers, and man, they've done a great job during this time period, this pandemic. But certainly we wanted to continue to address their needs, and in looking at this, Dr. Berger, I know, worked on this, as Mrs. Bales did. We're proposing 11 to 20 years of service receiving a 25% increase to their stipend, 21 to 30 years of service, a 20% increase to their stipend, estimated cost of about $5,000. So I believe that is it. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
You got any comments or questions on that?
Bravo, bravo.
Do I have a motion to approve the salary recommendation?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Mr. Quinn makes a motion, Mr. Parham seconds. All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries. District surplus, Dr. Berger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kind of a slim list this month, which is our normal surplus month, but we've With the construction of Waynesville Middle School, we've done several over the years, so pretty short list, but we'll put that on govdeals.com.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Do I have a motion to approve district surplus?
So moved.
Dr. Form makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Deering, second. Show of hands. Favor? 7-0, motion carries. MOSIP ballot, Dr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. We need to put this on here. You're amongst greatness in the room. Mr. Quinn is a national board member with MOSIP, and we also have another seat opened up in the state, and I believe that Dr. Rossetti, he's kind of down in the southwestern corner of the state, is up for that seat. So we're asking that the board approve to keep Mr. Quinn on there. He's doing an excellent job, and Dr. Rossetti, and they be our representatives for our region to the MOSIP board.
Comments or questions?
I'm not sure about that.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Keenan makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Deering makes a second. All in favor? Yes?
Well, if you voted for it, yes.
Payback. Payback.
Can't abstain.
The motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Keenan makes a motion. Mr. Quinn second. All in favor, show of hands. We are adjourned.